How old were you when you moved to the Bay Area, when you moved to Oakland?
Well, I think I was around about a year and a half, maybe something like that, when I moved to Oakland. Yes, I was just basically born in Arkansas. You know, that's where I made my grand entrance, and my parents moved out, brought my brother and sister out, and then my grandmother. I stayed back there with my grandmother, and then she brought me out on the train, and I've been here ever since. Yeah.
Wow, Oakland is notorious for having so much artistic and creative talent. So many artists and
Right.
R&B, hip hop, everything come up out of Oakland, even the
Yeah.
Panthers. So that's
Yeah.
an
Black
amazing
Panthers.
place.
Matter of fact, I just posted a picture on my website today of me and Bobby Seale that with him and I
Wow.
was doing something a few years ago, and it popped up on my line, and I just posted of Bobby and I being together. I went to school with Bobby and Huey Newton. Yeah, you know, so we had Black
Wow.
movement. You know, like you said with rap, we had Hammer. You know, Too Short. You know, going down the line. You know, R&B. You know, it's like we had so many great R&B artists. Uh, the Tonys and
Tony Tone
yeah,
and
right.
Bold.
Matter of fact, we all used to go to church together. They was little boys up under me. Yeah, right. So, but yeah, Oakland just been a real fantastic place. A lot of intellectuals, Ron Dellums, you know, who was a great, House of Representatives, Barbara Lee, people of that nature. So, you know, it's an interesting place. Yeah, most definitely.
Okay, okay. Now, when did you start singing? Was it something that runs in your family, or did you kind of get exposed to it in the community?
Yeah, when we moved to California, we lived right behind the church, right behind the church. So church was here. We lived right back there in the backyard of the church. Right across the street was the boxing gym, and right down the street from the church was the radio station. So I said that my great loves right there. You know, the church, boxing, and radio music was all right there. I mean, you know, all within 25 yards of each other. And so I just moved to the right spot, and just kind of grew up in church. I went to church with the Stewart family, with the Sly Stones family. I went to church with the
Wow.
Hawkins family, Walter and Ed and Tremaine and people like that. And so as a consequence, music was just always around. My mom liked to tell a story that when I was about a year and maybe a year and 8 months, almost 2 years old, that I had learned how to say the Lord's Prayer, right? So she had all the little
Wow.
old ladies from the church over at the house, and she said, Leonard Charles know how to say his prayers. So they all gathered around, and I said, Our Father, and I threw my hands up in the air and said, Hey, Baba Rebop, which was a song that was on the radio, right? And so she said, You've been singing ever since, right? So it's just always been a part of me, part of my life. I started playing trumpet in school in the fourth grade, learned how to read music and things like that. So music just always been an integral part of my life. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Who were some of your influences back then? Like you said, you was listening to the radio. What was out back then around
Oh
that
man,
time?
so they had what Clyde McFadder and Lloyd Price and the Coasters and groups like that,
Wow.
and I'm listening to Arthur Prysock and just I could go on just naming names, of different people like that. And of course I listen to gospel music too. So I was listening to the Soul Stirrers and people like that. But Sam Cooke was singing gospel music then, and then he transitioned over to to popular music. And so as a consequence, just kind of I really love Sam Cooke, and so when he did his thing and left gospel and went to more popular music, they called it back then worldly music. Quite naturally, me being young teenager, I'm just kind of like following that, and then I decided that's what I wanted to do. Yeah, but the radio is a great tool to learn. You listen because they're playing all kinds of music, and so you get exposed to everything. My mom, she loved country music, so we'd be listening on Saturday when we had to wash clothes and wash Venetian blinds and clean up the house. She'd have that country music going on and listening to that and everything like that. So all those influences, plus I was playing trumpet, so then I'm playing all these little band songs and stuff. So there was all kinds of music that were converging in my mind, and then somehow when it came out of me, when I got time to create, then I have all these influences, and I come up with something that's distinctive, or hopefully something that's my own.
Wow. Okay. I truly appreciate you sharing that. Now, coming out of Oakland at that time, did you have access to record labels? How did you get your first break? Did you have to go out of town or shop your demo? How did you go about doing that?
Well, there was a couple of record labels in Oakland. There was a guy by the name of Ray Dobar, who was a guy who owned a record label, and he had a couple of little hits come out of there. And then, I'm sure there was. I'm trying to think of his name, Mister. I'm trying to think of his name. Run. I can't think of his last name. I know it's over the G, but anyway, he had a nice label. He did mostly blues over there. And so I was in college, and one of my boys like, "Hey man, they got a talent show down there. The radio station holding a talent show. Let's come on there and win that money. I'm gonna be your manager, right?" So we go down there. I think he won $20. He took 10. I was like, "Oh man, you like Colonel Parker for Elvis. They split, I said, you ain't even done that. Oh man, give me $10, man." I said, well, I think the regular price for a manager is like 10%. So he's talking about, man, dude, that's just $2. So I gave him half, and then I go down there. I won, so I go down there, and every time I'd win, right? So one night I went down there, and they had a guy named Ray Shanklin, who was from Fantasy Records, and they were out of San Francisco at that time. And he asked me if I wanted to make a record. I was like, yeah. So then that's just how it got started, and then just started going to the studio. And started hanging out, meeting people. I met John Fogerty. He had a little group called the Gollywogs, and then Huey Lewis had a group called Clover back then. So I'm hanging out with them, hanging out with Sly Stone, Carlos Santana, all the different people. And eventually, I just kind of found my way, to nobody wasn't famous then. Everybody just trying to make it right. And then then just kind of finding my way, and then hooked up with Larry Graham. And then that's when things really started to happen for me, right?
Wow, wow. Okay, I truly appreciate you sharing that as well. So much history, so many things was going on. Like you say, some people wasn't even famous yet.
No, they wasn't famous at all. Yeah, right. Folks was needing rides to get around and everything. Can I catch a ride with you? Yeah, yeah.
Right, right. So when you started cutting the records, were you was a solo artist initially, and then you
I was a
linked up with
solo
the
artist
Tower of
initially,
Power?
right? Yeah, right. I did. I think about three or four records solo. I did Lisa's Gone, then I did Feeling Blue, and I think I did. Then I went to Atlantic, down with Jerry Wexler. Did a couple of down the Muscle Shoals. Did a couple of records down there, and then I hooked up with Larry Graham. Then he hooked me up with his boy was the manager for the name Lou Gordon. He was the manager for Tower Power, and then he got me to writing for Tower Power. Then I started writing for him, and then eventually I became the lead singer. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now what was that transition like? Because I'm not a singer. I mean, going
Mm-hmm.
from solo to going to a band, is that a hard transition or was it kind of fairly easy since you was writing?
It's pretty easy because I mean, all I'm doing is singing. So I sing a cappella. I can sing with a guitar, piano. I can sing with a full band. You know what I mean? I don't need a band, whatever. So all I was doing was singing. Now the type of music sometimes changes. I mean, you could be singing R&B and you go to a band that do jazz, or they do standards or whatever like that. They doing Frank Sinatra or Nat King Cole. So the type of music,
Right.
but Tower Power at that time was doing basically the same kind of music that I was doing because I was writing for him. So it was, so it
Right.
was fairly easy transition. Yeah, in terms of the
Oh,
style of music. Yeah, but then being solo, you just it's all on you, and you more concerned about yourself. Whereas with the band, then you have the responsibility of you know considering other people's feelings and what they like, what they don't like in terms of music and everything like that.